This is part two in my video essay, not really much of an essay, my video talk on colliding jokers. Because I wanted to talk about this just because I am an unabashed cinephile, and so I do sometimes talk about filmic related things. I'm also a literature type of person, so sometimes I talk about books or poems or such. I am a currently unemployed English, or I'm employed, but I'm not. I'm currently not. I'm currently an English teacher who is not employed as an English teacher. But just like when you're a Marine, they say you never stop being a Marine. Same applies to being an English teacher, I believe. So there you go. Um, so last time I mainly considered the first of the two colliding jokers. These two jokers, one being Heath Ledger from The Dark Knight, the other being Joaquin Phoenix's rendering of the Joker from Joker, and how these two characters differ so entirely in their orientation, or in the movies, their conception of the character and what he is, what he represents, how he came about, and how we are to view him. As I said, Heath Ledger's Joker is somebody who does not really have a past, or his past is shrouded in mystery, and he doesn't think it's important. He laughs at people who would try to understand him by saying, "Oh, this must spring from trauma of some kind." He tells stories that are self-contradictory about how he got his scars, and that's again meant to represent that he is just this cipher type figure. I mean, he's a fascinating cipher, but he is a static, absolute character with no arc whatsoever. He just represents what he represents. But Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is entirely different. You know, he is somebody who we see just beaten down by society, beaten down by the culture in which he lives. He begins as this sad sack in this dystopian, crumbling metropolis that is Gotham City, and he starts out as somebody who really is trying to reach out to people, who is really trying to connect, trying to fit in, trying to find his place as Arthur Fleck. And in return, of course, he doesn't get anything but abuse. And it's not so much anything personal. It's just the way that the kind of culture that Gotham City is one that is completely drained of empathy, and the absence of empathy is what we see leading up to the transformation of Arthur Fleck into Joker. So in this case, the background, the history of the character is paramount. Now, there are still there's a certain similarity to Heath Ledger's Joker in that we don't really know. We ultimately don't know what this character, where he came from genetically speaking. He could possibly be the illegitimate son of what's Bruce Wayne's father's name? I can't remember right now. He could be the illegitimate son of the billionaire mogul, Mr. Wayne, and thus he could possibly be the half brother of Bruce Wayne, who in the movie is just a little kid. And I've always found striking. I've said this before. I've always found striking how he reminds the kid, the young Batman, the pre-Batman Batman. He reminds me so much of Baron Trump, and I think that might have been intentional on the part of the director, just because his father is this kind of, this mogul and this blowhard, and has certain things in common with Donald Trump, and so and his son is just this quiet, shy, you know. I don't think I think his only line is he says, "I'm Bruce," and that's his only line. That's the only line he has in the movie. But we know that he's the one who's going to grow up to be Batman. But so there's some mystery about whether or not Bruce Wayne's father impregnated Arthur Fleck's mother, and thus, which is what she claims. But then it turns out she's this sort of mentally unstable person, just like he is, and that he was abused, by her psychotic boyfriends, chained to a radiator, possibly sexually abused, and he's been in and out of asylums already. He tries to make it as a clown, which is interesting, and of course, that's a very resonant thing in today's world. Over the last few years, ever since the chaos in our society really started flowering, if you want to put it that way. The expression "clown world" has come into vogue, and in this movie, it's not, I don't think it's coincidental that the main character, the anti-hero, if you will, wants to be a clown, or he conceives of himself as a clown, that he has a job as a clown, and he enjoys the job. He wants to entertain people. He wants to make people laugh, but he also doesn't really understand humor that well, and he doesn't understand we see when he tries to be a stand-up comedian at an open mic night. His entire he's just slightly off, a step or two off. He laughs, when he's watching another comedian, he laughs at all the wrong times. He laughs like in the middle of a joke. So he understands humor, but his humor is something that's like just a private thing, that it's something that it's his own. What makes him laugh is different from what makes others laugh, because he's out of step with humanity. And of course, he also has this disability, this debilitating condition where he laughs uncontrollably, in a way that whenever he's upset, that's his response to being upset, to being put in a stressful circumstance, is to laugh. But it's a painful laugh, as we see. Almost feels like he's being choked when he laughs in this manner. So anyway, this iteration of Joker, as he's called here, with no article, just Joker. This transformation is here the what makes him, the thing that makes him transform, that causes him to become Joker, to go from this sad sack guy who's well-meaning, but kind of there's something about him that's a little off-putting, and so he just ends up getting the brunt of a lot of people's hostility in an empathy-less world. Including the last straw is when the talk show host who he looks up to and who represents a kind of father figure for him, how when he sees that this guy, really just sees him as an object of fun, really just sees him as somebody that he's gonna mock. There's a difference, of course, between laughing with someone and laughing at someone, and he goes he goes for the talk show host Murray, or Murray as he calls him later. He goes for this real cheap shot. It's like the punchline is something that when he's mocked on television, it's something that if Murray were to just be maybe a little bit more subtle about it, but instead he says something like, you got that right, pal, and just he's very blatant in his cruelty. The fact that he's openly mocking this guy. Now, is Murray like an evil person? No. And this is something that I thought was interesting, that Quentin Tarantino pointed out in an interesting interview, that the momentum of the final scene where Arthur Fleck / Joker is on Murray's show, and the movie gets the audience worked up into this lather where we want to see Arthur / Joker take out Murray. We want to see, we want to see this cathartic moment, and yet all the while Murray is not really he's not an evil guy. He's just kind of an asshole. He's no more of an asshole than like David Letterman was. And people love David Letterman, and other sort of comedians who would mock people like Arthur. But the movie, in what I think is one of the tensest scenes in all of cinema, that final the scene where Arthur is on Murray's show, is the momentum is wanting us, getting us to want the blood, to have this bloodlust, and even though part of us is aware that it's not right, that Arthur is just going descending into insanity. But Arthur's driven crazy by the society, and he talks, of course, it's by now it's become a famous sort of thing to say society, to talk about we live in a society, and he makes reference to society in that last scene, a society that treats him like garbage, the final punchline, the joke that ends with violence in that scene. There's a sort of like internal punchline to it, and it is a kind of joke, even though it doesn't really end with a laugh, or what would make most people laugh, but it still, in a way, has the momentum of a joke. So I find it, just to conclude, I find it really interesting that this version of Joker is in some ways the exact opposite thesis of the Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger version of Joker, Where there, Joker was just a static character, and it was he was the whole idea of examining his past, or looking at society, uh, blaming society for how he got to be the way that he is. That was, missing the point. That was not the point. That was the whole idea that that this guy became the Joker because because of suffering trauma. This was something that he mocked, by telling lies about how he got his scars, telling different stories to different people at different times. But so all that stuff was just thought of as not as totally beside the point, not relevant, and yet it worked. And he was still a hypnotic character to watch. And this Joker takes the exact opposite route. It's a much more there's a lot more warmth, actually, to the spirit behind Joker 2019, even though the movie itself, we don't see much warmth, much human warmth in the movie, but there's this thesis, and it is heartbreakingly true that if somebody had sympathized with this guy, if somebody had, if instead of making fun of him, if his hero had given him a hug and told him he was proud of him, like Arthur fantasizes about earlier in the movie, if there were some sort of empathy out there, then the transformation would never have taken place, and Joker would have been able to would never have manifested, because Arthur would be able to find his place in the midst of this ruinous culture. But it's the fact that it's so ruinous, the fact that it's so empathyless, the fact that there's there's nothing but bleakness, psychic bleakness, as well as the mise en scène, as they say, of the movie, which is I find it to be a strangely beautiful film, even though it's all about this really ugly city, and garbage everywhere, and rats, and all of this ugly stuff, and dilapidation. I find dilapidation can be really strangely beautiful. That's a phenomenon I don't quite understand, but it's nevertheless true. So, colliding Jokers, one where it's not at all about society. It's not at all about looking into the internal, what makes him tick, what made him become this way, where that whole idea gets laughed at, and the other, the later one, the Arthur Fleck Joker one, where his transformation is all is the meat of the story. These two renderings of Joker are so opposite of one another, yet they both succeed. They're both powerful depictions of this character, and I find that fascinating. So, comments below. My name's Andy Nowicki. You can check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. My latest book, The Insurrectionist, can be purchased from terrorhousepress.com.